Live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Morning has broken, like the first morning. The Franklins have spoken, like the first birds. Apologies to Cat Stevens. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie and I'm running out of ideas for exciting beginnings to our various safaris. This morning on camera is Ferg, who appears to have lost something. What's wrong, Ferg?
No, I've lost nothing.
You've lost nothing. Okay, as we were. And we are coming to you live from a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. We're out here, it is apparently 16 degrees centigrade, so actually a bit warmer than it has been over the last few mornings, which is 60 odd Fahrenheit, somewhere around there. And because this is a live show, it is 60 Fahrenheit. Because this is a live safari, it means it is interactive. So you can type out something to us, we will hear about it, and we will respond to you, in theory, on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So any questions that you have about the amazing animals of Africa? My original start was going to be the ground hornbills have spoken, and we were going to have a beautiful view of a ground hornbill, but they flew away. There is a certain inevitability to that. You plan out a nice start, and it's live wildlife filming. Nothing ever goes according to plan. So, this morning, we're just going to see where the morning takes us. I'm going to go check the western boundary of Djuma, see if Shadow's decided to pop in. Shadow is a female leopard, for those of you who are unfamiliar. And then I think we'll go east, Ferg. We shall go east. I haven't like the song, towards the rising sun, but not to the house of the rising sun. Now I'm getting confused.
I was thinking of the Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah,
Go west. No, we're going east. Well, we're going west now. Oh dear. Fergus and I are going to recover our wits. One person who has to have his wits about him is the person who is on foot.
Good morning everybody and welcome to our Sunrise Safari, and as Jamie says, we have to have our wits about us this morning. Now, my name is Tristan and on camera today I've got Craig, and the reason why Jamie is saying that is because we're on bushwalk, and so in bushwalk obviously we're going to try and see what we can find while we walk around, but a lot of the animals out here see us a little bit differently than they do on a vehicle. So we'll have to just keep our eyes out and see. Luckily it's a beautiful clear morning, there's not too much mist around, so it should be a wonderful start to the day. Now, this is an interactive experience and it is lovely always to hear from all of you. So if you did see anything around Dam Cam last night, since we are on foot and we're quite close to the lodge, then you can let us know on hashtag Safari Live. And if you have any questions, you can let us know too. It's always, like I say, good to hear from you. Now, this morning Herbie's gone on leave, so we have Rex back with us, and Rex is very keen to try and find some elephants this morning. So we're going to try and see, we're going to go to the western side and try and see if we can't find some ellies on foot, and then just generally look around on the west. We haven't spent too much time on foot there, so I want to just go and check that area where we had the tracks for the Nkuhumas going in and out on that little drainage section, and where there was a couple rocky outcrops and tambuti thickets, and see if maybe there's any more signs of them in that area. So that's probably going to be our plan for this morning. It seems like it's going to be a wonderful day. It's quite chilly now, but I would imagine it's going to warm up quite quickly. It already feels warmer than it did yesterday, so I'm hoping that we should have a really pleasant morning out here. It's going to be a bit slow on the sort of insect front to start with this cold that we have now, but as soon as we start to kind of warm up a little bit, we'll find that the insects will start moving, and we'll start to see them at least coming out and trying to sort of dry their wings. Although this morning there's very little dew, The other day I did walk, and as we got out, by the time I had walked about 10 paces, my shoes were very, very wet, whereas this morning the grass is completely dry, so it should be fine for the insects to start flying as soon as that sun breaks the horizon and we actually get a bit of light coming down. But I'm going to also try and head this direction because Craig tells me that he heard some ground hornbills calling, and I know Jamie heard them too, and he says they were somewhere this side, so I want to go try to see if we can't find the ground hornbills. On foot, they have been spending a lot of time just to our sort of southwest of where we are now. There's a few big dead trees that they've been sitting on, so I want to go check a little open section and see if they're not there. Come Craig, let's go see what we can find. Craig, what do you want to see on foot this morning? You want to see a big cat? Okay, Craig, well, we'll try our best. I know Jamie and Herbie found that male lion, but he was moving south last night already, so I would imagine that he's probably in Little Gowrie already, and we haven't heard any signs yet, but this was about the time yesterday when we heard him roar for the first time, so maybe we'll hear something, and we'll be able to fulfill Craig's wishes and find a big cat. Now, while we go around and look and see what we can find, let's go across to Jamie and see where she is, and whether she's had any luck yet this morning.
No luck yet, but the morning is yet young, and absolutely I hope Tristan has some good luck with the big cats on foot this morning, which of course in turn means good luck for us. The only reason we found that lion on foot yesterday was because he started, you know, that soft contact call that they do before they start roaring properly. He did that, and we happened to be close to where he was. We were about to find him. I'm going to go with that. And then he called beautifully for us, and that was that. It all worked out and unfolded perfectly. Interestingly enough, I see now that it was Nena, which I did not know at the time. And of all of our dominant male lions that we see, all four of them, the Birmingham boys, Nena's the most likely to charge you on foot. I'm quite happy that that didn't go that way yesterday evening. He seemed to be quite comfortable with us. So all in all played out beautifully. Hopefully this morning does as well. Alright, I didn't find a ground hornbill, and I'll show you a fork-tailed drongo. It's probably going to fly away, but it looks so pretty sitting up there singing away happily, imitating all the other little birdies. Good morning. Who are you imitating today, or are you just being you? Have we got a drongo that is an individualist? Good. I have fantastic news. I knew it was in the pipeline, but James has had some luck. He is with a leopard as we speak.
We are with the leopard, everybody. Good morning to you. I hope that you're having a good morning. He's probably heading up onto this termite mound. We're with Tingana, the male leopard. My name is James Henry. It's lovely to have you with us on this chilly but beautiful morning. And here is our first sighting of the day, male leopard. Now, hashtag Safari Live is how you can talk to us. And it is apparently 61 degrees Fahrenheit out here today. And that is the gorgeous Tingana. Oh, marvellous. Isn't he wonderful? He's still so big and fat, just like the last time we saw him, Seb.
Yes.
Seb is on camera today. And he is just depositing a popcorn flavoured scent. Now, I will just warn you that there are quite a few people hoping to see him today, so we probably won't be able to spend all day with him, but we'll spend as long as we can. He's also going to cross into some pretty thick bush. What a joy it's beginning to our safari. Hold on everyone, there's going to be some nasty off-roading here. Oh dear. He's going to go into this thick bush. I'm just going to head across here. Get around this thicket. Hold on tight, everyone. I'm sorry about the racing about, but this is what happens if you want to spend time with big male leopards on the prowl. This is the kind of bush they like, thick stuff. If you are a new viewer, Tingana is about, I've almost forgotten his age. He must be nearly 10 by now. He was 9 last year, which means he must be 10 this year at some stage. He's coming down this path, I hope. You see him there? You just turn off and listen. There's Texan. Let me just quickly ask him if he still got him. Tex, have you still got him there? Have you still got him there? I think he's further this way, Seb, along this path. He's going to pop out somewhere here. And I think he will cross the drainage line. That is the river of the Great Mulwati, somewhere around here. Oh, please let us not have that as the only view of him today. You can't see him, can you? Holly, I'm afraid I completely missed your question there. The game drive radio is going ballistic in my ear right now. I still can't hear anything cursed, sorry. We've just got it. There he is. Oh dear, this car will not go into reverse. That's a disaster. I've got him there. Holly, I will get back to you, sorry. The game drive radio is just going crazy because everyone wants to come and see him. Okay, try now, Kirst. He was here. There he is. I'm afraid I missed that too. Is he looking for a what spot? A sleeping spot. Yes, he will eventually sleep as soon as it starts to get warm. But there he is. Alright, we've relocated him, everybody. He's now mobile. Still north, but it looks like he's going to go into the drainage. Yeah, I think stand by in the drainage there. Ah, wonderful stuff. Don't go in there, Tingana. He's on the game path now, parallel with the Mulwati. Sorry everybody, I know that this is deeply irritating, but the game drive radio, there's 4 or 5 people trying to get into the sighting, and so everyone's talking at once. I'll just turn it down a bit, now I can hear your questions properly. You can hear the birds' alarm calling. I think he's going down now, yeah. No stations, he's now heading into the Mulwati. It's amazing how quickly they can disappear. He walked into that thicket and he was gone. I just happened to look behind me at the right time and there he was. Leopard tracking is hugely based on luck. Yeah, now he's going to disappear into the drainage here and we're not going to be able to see him unless we go around to the other side. I seriously doubt, there he is. I seriously doubt we're going to be able to, well, maybe we'll be able to follow him through here. You got him there, Seb? There he is. Okay. Alright, I've now stalled the vehicle. You know what, I can't do this with gloves on. Alrighty, here we go. Oh, 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 oh. Right, there he is, I can see him. Alright everybody, let me try and get through this mess. Let's get across to Tristan. He's got a lovely, much more calming view of the sunrise.
Well, we do indeed, and where James is, I don't envy him. It's going to be a tough time to keep Tingana inside there, but hopefully he'll come out and start to wander in a little bit more of an open space. But the nice thing about walking around at this time of the day is that light is so low down that you can spot lots of spider webs, and it makes it much easier to see where they are. You can see there's lots of webs throughout this tree, and I was just looking around to try and see if I can't find this particular spider that is here, but all I can find is a butterfly that has been unfortunately, or a moth that has been, well, it's a butterfly actually, sorry, that has been trapped by the spider and has been pulled in a little bit further. Now I'm trying to see if the spider is somewhere there. It doesn't seem to be. It seems that it's just the moth the butterfly by itself. So I don't know where the spider is, but it's definitely was probably caught by this particular spider and has then just been pulled into a little bit of a thick area, and that's where it's staying. Now, the spider, like I say, must be around somewhere. Maybe it's not found this little butterfly yet, because I see the butterfly is not wrapped up in silk yet, and so potentially it hasn't found its caught on the web itself. So I'm just trying to see if there's anywhere else that I could look. There's lots of little hiding places for a butterfly, for a spider here. There's little leaves that are all folded together, and so it can make it quite tricky to sometimes find them. Now what I've also noticed is that at one stage this was used for a butterfly to be a chrysalis, so you can see it's just poking out over here, and it's amazing the small things that you can see when you actually look at a tree a little bit closely. You can find all the little things that were here in the past. Now that would have been where it detached itself, and then a tubular form would have come down, and from this the butterfly would have emerged after going through a metamorphosis, and will then end up looking much like what we see up over there. But alas, no spider, so I think we shall continue. Still, we haven't heard any more signs of our ground hornbills. I was hoping that we would have heard them. We did come across some impala that looked quite skittish, and they didn't really look very comfortable, but then there was a male that was around and bounding and chasing them, and so that's why. Now, other than that, it's actually been quite quiet, so we haven't heard too much, and that's the best part about being on foot at this time of the day, is that you can actually hear things that are going on. So we'll definitely still keep our eyes and ears open, and while we do that, I believe Jamie has got something with probably the best eyesight that likes to soar.
It's got fantastic eyesight, but this morning it's a little bit chilly for it to be soaring just yet. And in fact, it's so chilly that its neck appears to have completely vanished into the rest of the body. It's tucked, this particular vulture has tucked its head right down up against its body, which is basically exactly what we're doing this morning. Well, we do every winter's morning, trying to keep ourselves warm. But it is a very striking silhouette. Look at that. It does look like it's wearing a scarf, Lou. That's exactly what it looks like. But that very, very powerful beak. It's not difficult to see what this bird was built for, tearing meat away from skin and bone. I would guess and say it's a white-backed vulture. Obviously, with the brightness of the sun, it's quite difficult to see. But I'm going to hazard a guess, just judging by its size, and say it's white-backed. The only other bird that we could confuse it with at this size is a white-headed vulture that I know that... Who saw it? Tristan saw some not so long ago, close to Little Gowrie. He saw a white-headed vulture. I doubt it though, just on the basis of probability, it's most likely a white-backed vulture. That's the most common species that we see out here. And I say common species, we've actually been really lucky this morning. I know I didn't manage to get those ground hornbills on camera. They kept flying away. But we've had 2 endangered creatures this morning already, Ferg. The ground hornbill and now the white-backed vulture. Hopefully Tristan finds them on foot. They didn't appear to want to be put on camera. They were very shy this morning. Maybe they hadn't done their makeup or their eyelashes. And in fact, the only way that we could get this vulture to agree to the shot was if we positioned ourselves so it was in silhouette. Nancy, apparently you heard today that vultures use mud as makeup. That's not something that I've heard. Nancy says she's uncertain as to whether to believe it. I'm trying to think if I've ever... Look, it could also be vultures that we don't see in this area. You know, it could be New World vultures. we've, of course, here in the old world, so to speak, in a very old-fashioned way, I haven't seen vultures use mud. They are actually quite clean animals, and after they have been feasting on a carcass, I've many a time encountered a vulture party bathing themselves and cleaning themselves off in a nearby puddle or in nearby water, which of course in a way can potentially contribute to the spread of disease if they've fed off a carcass with anthrax or something. But that's very, very uncommon and not something we have to worry too much about now that we've had quite a bit of rain. Mud. What would they use mud for? To clean themselves, maybe? Or for parasites? I don't know, Nancy. I've never heard of that, and I've certainly never seen it. Maybe to protect their sensitive skin on their heads? No, it doesn't sound right to me. Good morning, Daniel. There is a very good reason why our vultures always pick dead trees to sit upon, and that is because they're actually not bad at flying, but they are very, very bulky flyers. I'm distracted by something. Sorry, hold on. Daniel, can you hold on for 1 second? There is a little gabar gone. It was a gabar goshawk. Gabar goshawk has now gone. It was being mobbed by a whole load of other birds, including white-backed vultures. It's over. Not white-backed vultures, sorry, magpie shrikes. I'm getting confused. Can you see it there, Ferg? It's that little kite-like goat.
I see him there, yeah.
Yeah, he's fluttering all over the place. I suppose I would too if I was being attacked. Gone. Right, back to Daniel's question. Got interrupted. Vultures are bulky flyers, and I've actually noticed there's a couple of them dotted around where we are now. If I go forward a little bit, I might be able to show you. There's some more over there. And takeoff and landing are quite clumsy. So sitting in a dead tree removes the need to try and dodge around leaves. And getting caught in leaves and the flapping. They're heavy birds. They rely on thermaling rather than flying and actively flapping their wings to stay aloft. They can still land in trees with leaves, but they prefer not to. Why have we got such a collection here? Oh, can we try go forwards? Cool. That's probably a better idea. Oh dear. Promise you there's more there. Halt. There we go. There's 3 on that dead tree. So there you go, Daniel. It's very common to see vultures sleeping in dead trees. They prefer them. It's much more comfortable for them. And of course it means that they can see as well around them. And at this time of the morning, they're just waiting for the temperatures to heat up so that they can jump off and rise up into the circling air currents as it gets warmer. I might just do a little loop around here. I'm curious. I think they're probably just here for a rest, and the lions have been just to the west of us, so they might have killed something, the vultures might have fed on the scraps, and then come here to roost. But it's worth checking around just in case. Good morning, Ali. Ali, the vultures live all over. They live wherever the wind takes them, sometimes quite literally. As whenever they find a carcass, they'll come down off the air currents, they'll land, they'll wait for the predator to give them some space so that they can scavenge, or in the case of if they've just found an animal that's died, then they'll start feeding. Once all of the meat is gone, up they will get, they'll roost in a dead tree next to it, and then the next day they'll start the whole process again. And vultures can fly hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. So they don't have a specific place that they live. However, they will return to nest sites on specific knobthorn trees during breeding season, which is what we are in now. The white-backed vultures, knobthorn trees, the hooded vultures, big jackalberry trees, and I know there was a big push by researchers to try and locate hooded vulture nests. And then for the Cape vultures, they have roosting sites in places like the Drakensberg Mountains. They are more mountainous or cliff-dwelling species when they do breed, when they build their nests. So all around. Nomadic unless they're breeding. They do look like something out of a Jungle Book, all hunched over like that. We just need the fourth one to come into this picture. They don't seem to be looking at anything. I'm just going to check. Just in case. While I go in search of something that a predator may have abandoned to the scavengers, Tristan has found something that an elephant has abandoned.
Well, I don't know if she's abandoned. I hope she hasn't abandoned it. Well, this particular part she would have. But what you see here is from an elephant starting to give birth now. So this is basically, you can see the drops of her releasing some of the fluid, and then this is part of the actual placenta that has come out. Now it is quite dry, which means that it was probably from either yesterday afternoon or early in the evening. There is a little bit of liquid on top in places, so it was from sort of last night at some point, but you do not see this very often at all. The reason being is that you can imagine many a scavenger will come across this and feed on it. So things like battalier eagles, the vultures that Jamie saw, hyenas, jackals, they'll all come and they sniff this out and they actually feed off it, because it still is nutrient rich. But it is amazing to see. In fact, I haven't seen this too often. This is only probably about the third time that I've found signs of where an elephant was starting to go into labor and starting to give birth. And I want to follow these tracks a little bit further and see if we can't find where she maybe actually did give birth, because that area will be a massive area of liquid and varying other things that would have come out with the elephant itself. Now, Rex said to me that further on down here, he actually saw better signs of where it had happened. So I'm going to try and see if I can't just walk up there. But you can see if we look backwards where the elephants were, lots and lots of disc-like tracks, debris on the road, there's urine and dung, and all of this, like I say, would have been from yesterday sometime. We did have a herd close to here to start the show yesterday morning, and so I wonder if it wasn't from there. I didn't see any heavily pregnant females, but we have had quite a few heavy pregnant females around in the last week or so, so maybe this will be a very exciting morning. If we can track down this herd and try and find where she actually gave birth, that's going to be very cool. Now you can see here, there's more coming out, and there is another piece that is out as well. So she was slowly but surely prepping for birth, and I wonder if she didn't give birth somewhere down this road. You'll find elephants do give birth at night quite a bit, so this is just her urine, but as she's busy urinating, so bits of the placenta were coming out. Now it is quite dry, it's a lot drier than I thought, and so I would imagine this is actually from yesterday. But let's try and see what we can do, and if we can't find these elephants, maybe we'll be able to find a brand new born elephant somewhere that was born yesterday. Wouldn't that be amazing? To know that it was born yesterday and actually to see that would be very special. So we're going to definitely try. And the thing is, when they have these newborn elephants, is the first day that they have them, they generally don't move too much. The little one is still trying to get its balance, trying to get its muscles working, and so for the first few hours you'll find that they just sit and they don't do too much. Then the herd slowly but surely will start to move, and they generally don't cover too much distance, so hopefully we'll find them somewhere around here. So John, you say giving birth to an elephant cannot be pleasant. Well, I would have to agree with you, John. It must be the most horrible thing to do. When your baby weighs almost 300 pounds at birth, it can't be very pleasant at all. But I'm sure as an elephant, you're very excited to get rid of it. After 22 months of carrying this fetus that is absorbing nutrients from you, it must be a very happy day when it gets rid of it. Now, the interesting thing about when they do give birth is, luckily I've seen an elephant give birth, and basically what will happen is they do it on roads a lot, and I don't know why that is, but for some reason on roads or sandy areas, and it probably helps with just the drainage of all the fluids that come out. But when that baby comes out, they don't sit to give birth, they'll actually stand, and the weight of the gravity pulling on the fetus as it starts to come out is what they need to be able to pull that baby out, and it will basically come out, and then the sac will split, all the fluids go everywhere, and the little baby then starts to take its first breaths. From there, what you'll find is that all the herd will come rushing in. There'll be trunks touching it, feeling just to see what this baby is, making sure that it's okay. Once it starts moving around, often then the mother will go right up next to it and either with her trunk pick up that baby and try and hold it so it gets used to the fact that it needs to stand, or if it's battling a little bit with that, she actually lies down next to it and she'll drag that baby with her trunk towards her teats and then suckle that baby and give it some really much needed nutrients from milk that will help it get all the antibodies it needs to survive, as well as to be able to then get it some strength so it can stand up. From there, then the little baby will slowly start to stand and the mother will help it the whole time, and everywhere they go the whole herd will look after this little baby, and as it's kind of stumbling around, others will come to its defense, and even the siblings from that particular mother, they often are the best sort of surrogates for that little baby. They'll look after it when mom is feeding somewhere. The little babies will be hushed into a little area, and that the older siblings will look after it and make sure it is able to move around. It's really one of the most amazing things. Following that, you'll then find that the little baby will start to eat the dung of its mother. Now, the reason why it needs to eat the dung of its mother, so you'll see this quite often with baby elephants, is that there's microbes and bacteria in that dung that helps to get their digestive system working. So they'll then eat that and they'll start to feed on that, and that's normally one of the first sort of solid meals that they have is actually their mom's dung, and that starts to get the stomach working and be able to digest the foods that they're going to eat later in life. So it's quite an amazing sort of transition from being born to actually being able to survive. And this is quite cool. So, and I've never seen the Ellie moms actually eat part of the placenta, but what we can see here, which is really very cool, sorry, I'm getting very sidetracked and I will get back to that now, Anna, but you can actually see where the elephants were lying down. So if you look here, look at these little striations that are in the actual track itself. So this is all where the elephant was lying. There's wrinkling of the skin over here, and then when they stood up it smudged out a bit, but this is where a baby elephant was lying. It's not the one that was born, but one of the younger elephants had a little sleep here and had a nice little lie down. You can actually see its footprint is not very big at all. There we go, that's its foot there. So that's the whole front foot, very small, and this is where it then lay down, and you'll probably find if the female was giving birth, the rest of the herd would have stayed here, and it means that you might have spent 3-4 hours in this area as that female did give birth. It takes quite a while, and so the young ones would have laid down and had a rest while that was happening. Now, Anna, like I say, I've never actually seen them eating their own placenta. I suppose it could be possible, but the thing about elephants is they don't have to worry about predators as much as what something like an impala would, where they have to eat their placenta so as to cover that scent and make sure predators don't follow them. With a herd of elephants like this, even if they leave traces like what we've seen now, then they don't have to really worry too much, because the herd itself will be able to protect that baby if a predator does come. So they actually don't have to worry nearly as much as what some of the other animals do. But I'm going to keep following these and just see, maybe we, like I say, maybe we get lucky, maybe we're able to find this tiny baby elephant, and if we do, that'll be the most special experience. So while we do that, I believe James is still trying to track something that might want to eat this baby elephant.
Yes, I'm sure it would want to eat that baby Ellie. I'm not sure how much success he would have. I'm afraid he's disappeared completely. There were 4 vehicles here trying to find him. They followed him and he crossed back up onto the bank that we were driving along. And this is the great skill of the leopard, of course, is that they just disappear. We've looked all around here, 4 or 5 of us. We saw a duiker we thought was surely going to be murdered within seconds. Haven't seen it again. There are just a few birds alarm calling here, so I'm going to just do a little drive in here. But, you know, once they're gone, every single minute that you are not seeing them, the chances of finding them again exponentially decrease. And I think now we're into the stage of basically trying to retrack him. You know what I mean? I just wondered if maybe he also hadn't spotted the duiker that we did, and maybe he decided he would cease his patrol and see if he couldn't perhaps get in there to have himself some early breakfast. There are a few birds alarm calling around here, 1 or 2 cisticolas going bzz, 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 bzz. But not anything of great significance. So I don't know. And then also the lovely call of the black-crowned chagra. Anyway, we'll pull out of here, I think, and we'll go and see what else the wilderness has to offer us today. Let's do one last little look through here. Donna, you want to know if Tingana has a sibling? Donna, I'm afraid I've got no idea. Not one that I know of, Donna, and not one that is resident in this area. He is 10 though, so you know, I'm really not sure of. I'm really not sure. It's very interesting that he has just absconded with such speed and, well, not speed, I mean there was no speed about it. He didn't do anything fast, he just was kind of walking gently. Let's have a look down into the drainage, and then I think we'll probably head out of here. Yeah, Steph, I think you're probably right. You say, meanwhile, Tingana is sitting on a termite mound laughing at us. I think you might be right. And because of what you said, actually, I think it might be worth us just turning round and going up this way. No, you know what? No, the other two have gone up and down there. I am going to guess that he crossed this road behind us up onto one of these game paths, and that he may have crossed the Mloamati further up to the north. And so let's go up towards Chelapan. We will have a little bit of signal breakup as we nip through here. We'll just quickly go through. Well, the signal is fine. This is amazing. Let's go up towards the pans here where the saddle-billed stork was earlier on. Let's see if we don't have some better luck there. But we're now into the realm of retracking him. Anyway, we've got a lovely view of him in the morning there. Great big perfect gift for a Wednesday morning. Oh, now Jamie has got an enormous vulture she'd like to share with you.
An absolutely massive vulture, probably the largest vulture you are going to see on these live safaris. It is a leopard-faced, sitting up on the top of the dead tree. So now we've had white-backed and we've got a leopard-faced vulture joining in with the rest of the scavenger crew. That is unusual. I mean, it's not unheard of, and we do see them every now and again, but it might be a new one for some of you to add to your bird list, because I can't guarantee we're going to see one of these again anytime soon. I want to know why he's here, or she. Can't really tell with vultures. I want to know why it's here. I can't see any sign of anything. I can't smell anything. I guess it must have been based on a lion kill not far from here. Elizabeth, no, vultures generally don't eat bones, but they do eat bone shards. And that's just because even a leopard-faced, with its very, very powerful beak, is not really capable of crushing. It might grate a little bit along the bone, but they're not really capable of crushing it. Which actually leads me to an interesting discussion about the unusual relationship that we don't think of between hyenas and vultures. Because the hyenas come through and crunch the bones and leave shards lying about, and the vultures will then come and pick those up. And very frequently that's the female vultures, particularly when they're about to lay their eggs, because it's a great way, obviously, of supplementing their calcium intake. So vultures do eat shards of bone, but they can't crunch open the bone themselves. So that makes it quite an important relationship between spotted hyena and vultures that nobody actually ever really thinks about. Or lions, I suppose, potentially, because lions do also crunch on bones. But there is that relationship between the two of them. And it's one of the things that I once heard put forward as one of the reasons behind the lowering in the number of vultures in the wild. People suggested that the because the home range of the spotted hyena has become smaller and smaller, the vulture numbers, they're not getting the calcium that they need. I'm not sure if that isn't a bit of a stretch, but certainly it is an important reminder that we don't always necessarily understand all of the connections between the different animals. The biggest reason, of course, as usual, for the disappearance of our vultures is absolutely the poisoning of vultures and the poaching of vultures. Deborah, yes, there are deaths of vultures occasionally in the Kruger. The Kruger is absolutely massive. Oh, Dina, sorry, Dina. You're not Deborah at all, you're Dina. It does happen. The Kruger is huge, and as intensive as the efforts are to keep all of the animals safe, it does occasionally happen that a waterhole is poisoned or a carcass that has been poisoned is put down to bait the vultures in. Unfortunately, of course, not just the fact that it gets vultures, it'll get all the scavengers as well. It really is something quite horrible. And the poison is fat stored, so even if the vultures recover, every time they go a little bit hungry, then they become ill again, those that have survived or haven't ingested too much poison into their systems. It's a horrible thought, isn't it? The reason that happens is because there's an idea that vultures' brains will give you the ability to see into the future, because people believe that they predict where the they actually see where the carcasses are. It's always, it's very easy to love pathetic to things like and I'm not really talking about.
Hello everybody. Sorry about that, a couple of technical glitches, I think possibly due to the Vulture mast. I hope that you won't lose us along here. What I've decided is that he has probably skipped us and carried on his northerly route, which may or may not bring him out at the Vulture Dam. There are some alarm calling birds, but we've heard alarm calling birds the whole way. So we're going to drive slowly up this way, see what else we can find. There was a beautiful giraffe up here that we neglected in our search for leopards this morning. So we'll sit with him for a little while, hopefully, and we'll see if the leopard doesn't pitch up. And apparently the giraffe was seen on the dam cam this morning. There's a little pan in here at which he could easily pitch up. You hear those birds? Let's just go to this little pan because it's very beautiful regardless. So we'll go and have a look at the little pond in the shade. Hello John, good morning to you. I hope that you're having a lovely evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be in the world. So what is my favourite thing about the morning drive? Well, in general, I suppose it would be the first touch, first kiss of the sun on my cheeks after the coolness, or cold actually, it's not just coolness, is it? It's cold. After the cold of the early morning, I think that the feeling of sun on my face is my favourite part of the early morning drive. Obviously, if you see a leopard in the first few minutes, well, then that's going to be the favourite part of the morning, but in general, I think it would be that. The duiker. Does it look like it might die soon? Sebastian has seen, there is definitely a very cross bird in there. Where did you see the duiker, Seb? That side. The little pond is through there, but the birds are shouting in here, so we're just going to drive down into this area, see if we don't see his tracks maybe. Of course they could be shouting at anything from a brown snake eagle to a hawk eagle.
But there was a, I just saw a raptor flying.
Did you see a raptor?
Yeah, but let's still go down.
Let's go down to the pond. Yeah, Sebastian's just seen a raptor, and that's probably what these birds are shouting at. I'll just turn off so you can hear them. Well, they're obviously hiding behind. There they are. You see them there? Sort of middle of the tree. You zoom in from there, up a bit. Yeah, that, you got him. There he is. Keep going.
What are we looking at?
The grey go-away bird, yeah.
Go-away bird. I see a hornbill.
Just zoom in and you got him down a bit. There you are.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there's a hornbill there as well. Yeah.
Oh, we're just listening carefully. Any other sign of irritation from birds?
Oh,
Oh, that's what they're shouting at. Did you hear that?
yeah.
Oh, oh.
Uh-huh.
It's a giant eagle owl.
Okay.
I think it's probably the giant eagle owl
That I saw.
that you saw yesterday. Or that Tristan had yesterday and that you saw flying.
Yeah.
You'll be in this tambuti, at least in this year, tambuti and jackalberry thicket. But there's no other kind of consternation around here, so I don't know. It is amazing how these leopards can just completely and utterly disappear in seconds. Right, now Tingana probably weighs in at around 75 kilograms, I would say. But the leopard you're about to see is much, much bigger than that.
Well, I don't know. I would imagine I'm quite a lot more than that. But we are in one of Tingana's favorite trees, actually. This is Brenton Tingana. One got down gracefully, the other not so. Because following the tracks, I thought we would come to this area and try and see if we can't find where these elephants maybe were feeding off a Torchwood. This time of the year, there's lots. You can see those fruits that are still hanging on the tree, and unfortunately this particular tree, the fruits are not yet ripe, and so they haven't fallen yet, and that's why the elephants actually haven't come here. There's not too many signs of elephants feeding in this area, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll find they'll start to drop, and then you'll start to find the elephants actually coming in here. But like I was saying, we've seen Tingana exactly where I'm standing right now, surveying his landscape, and then the other one was Brent, who from here managed to fall all the way down there. And Craig said to me if he had been filming, it would have been a big problem because he would have been laughing too much at Brent. Luckily, I don't know how he didn't get hurt. There are lots of stumps and sharp thorns all over the place, so I'm very glad he didn't. But climbing up here has revealed something quite cool, which you don't often see, which is going to be on the other side of the tree, so I'm going to have to try and turn around quickly to show you. But we have inside here, and I'm going to try not fall out like Brent. Now Craig, if you can get this side, you'll be able to see what's going on inside here. Now we don't often get to see this kind of thing, but you will notice a whole bunch of marula seeds. Now this is a little storage area for a squirrel. Unfortunately it's eaten all of those seeds at the moment, but this is where it would have put them to keep them and to feed off them, and they've basically pulled out lots of the nuts and been able to eat them there, which is very, very clever. Normally that's inside a big sort of hole and you won't actually find too many of those seeds visible, but here the squirrel is a little bit more sort of confident that nobody else is going to steal it and has allowed that to be out. Now in amongst the marulas, I'm going to try and see if I can't get to it. Let's not fall out, Craig. Otherwise you might laugh at me. No, I can't reach it. There we go. Alright, so in amongst the marula seeds was this. Now this is the actual seed for the fruit that we're talking about in the Torchwood itself. So that is what everybody is after. And if you compress the seed as much as you can, there will be an oil that will come out of this, and this is where the Torchwood gets its name from. That oil is highly flammable and burns for a very long time, so hence the name Torchwood. Right. Craigie, I think we're going to have to somehow get out of this tree, which should be quite interesting. And I'm not sure we actually should be doing this live. Now, while I try and get out of here and we're discussing animals that would eat this, I believe Jamie's managed to find them.
I have indeed. Don't fall out of the Torchwood tree, Tristan. Otherwise, we'll have to start chuckling at you as well. Look, we've got elephants, and they are enjoying the cool of the morning. 2 young bulls full of energy, and of course, moving in. Which way are you going to go? I can't decide whether to go forward or backwards. Oh, no, let's stay exactly where we are. And these 2 boys are having a serious disagreement with each other. It's all part... I've seen you before. I know you. You with the splayed out tusks. I saw you the other day on school drive. Yes, I did. A shame. And that one, the one on the left, in front, he is... Don't come and take it out on me. He is really on the defensive. The one on the right is very much the aggressor in this situation. Aren't you, mister? Oh, are you all pumped up now? You want to come and chase us now? No, your opponent's turn to face you. Ah, you were fooled there. I love elephants at this age. They're so full of relatable, almost human-like traits in the way that they play with each other and they chase each other around and they fight, and then one gets upset and you can see the frustration. It's all very relatable. Isn't it, mister? Back into him. I'm very happy we did find elephants, because I saw some tracks going into an area where I can't go. I was quite sad. I was really looking forward to seeing some elephants. But that's okay, we've got more here. Oh, don't turn your back on him. He will poke you in the bottom. Press home, it's his advantage. We might actually even potentially see some mock mounting, which is a dominance display. Yeah. If I go forward now, they're going to stop what they're doing. That's almost what's happening here. Mock mounting between 2 males of the same species very often is a sign of basically the one showing dominance over the other. Okay, let's go forward a little bit. Oh, wait. Oh, shame. The poor one in front really, I think, just wants to have his breakfast. And as soon as he turns his back on this chap, then he gets poked in the bottom. Yes, push back. You've got the advantage of gravity. Use it. Use it. He's being a bully. George, yes, elephant tusks absolutely do contribute to their survival, but they're not an absolute necessity either. So you do get tuskless elephants. They're just as healthy and actually potentially just as dangerous as an elephant with tusks. But particularly for the males, obviously they use them to compete and fight with each other. This one's got smaller tusks, so it's not all about tusk size. There's also size of the actual animal and the level of aggression that they show. But the males do use them to fight for females, sometimes actually injuring each other fatally, although that is quite unusual. And they'll also use them to scrape bark off trees and then peel away the bark so that they can feed off it, particularly in winter when there's not much grass. They use their tusks to dig occasionally, to defend themselves. So yes, absolutely. The tusks do contribute to their survival, but they're not, and as I said, it's not an absolute. They don't have to have them. I don't know if any of you saw the publication recently of up-and-coming tuskers on the Kruger National Park Facebook page. I'm trying to think where exactly I saw it. I think it was on the Wild Card magazine Facebook page. But yes, Kruger's announced the names of up-and-coming great tuskers that currently exist within Kruger. There's some amazing-looking elephants, and what I enjoy as well is they've started to include females as well. I think Fang, potentially, with her fascinating backwards-facing tusk, before she broke it, she could have made it onto that list. Alright, is it breakfast time now? No. Yeah, that was intimidating. didn't see that, but he just threw a stick with his trunk. That was very intimidating. Very, very intimidating. Oh, am I the object of your ire this morning, Mr. Moo? What have you got to say for yourself? Oh, someone's being very brave. Oh, but maybe not that brave. I'm going to just walk behind this bush and pretend I'm not interested in you anyway. I was actually just after this tree over here. No, actually, maybe I was after another tree. Okay, we're going to send you across to James with another tall creature, and I'm going to wait for the baby elephant to pop out.
Indeed, indeed, a tall animal, and it is obviously the tallest animal, as we tell you on a virtually daily basis. A giraffe. Yes, the same giraffe that we saw early in the morning when we were racing away to see if we could find Tingana, which luckily we did. But, well, that special time with that leopard is now over. And now we are with a deeply aged giraffe, with an oxpecker on his face, and indeed, as we opened up there, an oxpecker in his bottom, which I think is a slightly undignified way to spend your morning, frankly. As Seb was scandalized. He, in fact, he asked if it wasn't perhaps inappropriate to start on that picture, and I said, no, Seb, it is our duty out here to show reality in all of its beauty and indeed its ugliness. Now you might be asking why I say he's so old. Look at how gnarled his head is. His horns are unusual sizes. He's got a huge big median horn. That's that sort of calcification of the skull that takes place in all giraffe. He's got a great big bunion above his left eye. He's done very well to get to this stage, and I'd put him in roughly 14 or 15 years perhaps. Now there is still an enormous amount of consternation in the river to the south of this dam that we're at. We're at the Vulture Dam. And it would not surprise me at all to find that Tingana was about to pop out here. But equally it would not surprise me at all if he didn't. Pitch up here. Isn't that a lovely picture? The other reason I say he's old, of course, is that he's very dark. Now there is a common misconception that giraffe get darker as they get older. They do, but they of course start at different colours, and so some will start off very light and get marginally darker, and some will start off quite dark and get much darker. And so it's not always a great indicator of age, but that combined with the condition of his skin and that very gnarled skull indicate that he is very old. Yes, David, his ears do look really white, don't they? I agree with you. I think his ears are very white indeed. Why would they be white? Possibly so that they can communicate visually with the other giraffe of an area. And he's eating tambuti trees, which are not very healthy for human beings. And I imagine some of our more regular viewers must be wondering, where is the Nkuhuma Pride? And I will tell you that there's a huge amount of confusion generally amongst even the guides who are able to drive on far greater traversing areas than ours. Griffith's Hook and Torchwood, they don't know where the Nkuhuma Pride is. Such grace and poise they have, don't they? Balletic in their movements. Now let's move around there, because I think we might get a nice view of him from the top of the wall. We might also be able to look down into the river and see if our leopard, the object of our great affection this morning, is not perhaps coming this way. There is very bright light now. It is amazing how it turns from darkness to full floodlit, blinding within sort of the space of what, 20 minutes or so? So I will soon have to put on my sun hat, everybody, as opposed to the clown-like beanie I stole from my brother. Right, Jamie Patterson has managed to catch up with a tiny baby little impossibly small minute elephant, and she'd like to tell you about it.
Well, I would love to tell you about it. Let me paint the picture. Up until about 5 seconds ago, the baby elephant was standing in the middle of the road, dust bathing, until it was shepherded across by, I assume, Mum. Not necessarily, though. It could have been an aunt, it could have been a big sister. Either way, it is now gone, and we've got the gathering of bottoms a little bit in front of us. So let's sneak forward a bit. The other elephants that we had earlier have crossed onto Buffelshoek. The elephants are kind of doing this, backwards and forwards around Buffelshoek cut line. To the left lies an area where we cannot drive, but obviously no fences. To the right lies Djuma. I saw the amount of vehicles on the western boundary of Djuma and just decided I'd rather come north. Now we're all rushing. Where are we all going? What's wrong? Hi, big girl. Good morning, Ray. There's our little one. Not a minute baby Ellie, but a young one. Ray, absolutely, elephants do give birth to babies all year round. They don't have a strict breeding season at all. And there will be a peak in the number of elephant births around the rainy season in certain areas. Just because that's the best time to have a baby. The resources are at their finest. The mothers are in the best possible condition to lactate, to provide milk. But you will see newborn babies at all times. Now, I don't know where Tristan had that placenta, although I had to admit I had such a giggle at the link that we did, because I had no idea that Tristan had a placenta. All I heard was that he had something that an elephant had left behind. So when I sent you across to Tristan and something that an elephant had abandoned, didn't quite tie together all that well. So Ferg and I did have quite a good chuckle at that. Okay, it was on Zoe's apparently, so the western boundary of Djuma, after all. I suspect, though, that Mum will have taken brand new baby off into dense vegetation somewhere and is looking after it there. We had one experience, for our new viewers, one experience with a brand new wobbly baby. It was awesome. And that was an example where, in answer to Canadian Emily's question, yes, the rest of the herd do wait for the little babies. It's amazing to watch. In this particular sighting, Canadian Emily, I'm sure you must have seen, or I'm not sure you must have seen, there were a lot of clips posted of that particular sighting because of the incredible nature and the way that the elephants gathered around the newborn, particularly when it fell down a slope. And you'll find, if you go onto YouTube or something similar, you will find so many video clips of the way in which elephant herds band around new mothers, protect her, guide her, look after her. There's that incredible story of the young mother that gave birth in the Olifants River. I think it was the Olifants. And the older females immediately stepped in because, of course, it's a brand new baby in a flowing river. It's not an ideal situation. Obviously, she didn't understand what was going on. She didn't know any better because it was her first baby. But the adults stepped in, the older females stepped in to guide her and to rescue that calf. So they're amazing creatures. And they will be hugely protective over a newborn. Not just the mum, all of the big adult females. Because they've been there and they've done that. And in some way that new mother will be related to them. It will be a daughter or a niece. And I think that's special. I really do. It's a family moment. Which is why we were so lucky to be included in that particular moment with that newborn. I don't know, George. George wants to know if elephants in a herd know that they are related. Yes, I guess they must do. They must do, surely. I mean, they've grown up with each other. There's that constant experience. All of the older females would have been calves together. They would have been young together. They would have experienced life and grown up together. They would have played with each other, learned to use their trunks. What's wrong, big girl? She's giving me a bit of an antsy feeling, this big female at the back. I mean, at the front. She's upset about something. She's got her trunk up. She's sniffing constantly. I just want to turn around so that I'm out of her way. There's something off about her body language that suggests to me perhaps might be better to give her some space. I don't know if it's me that she's smelling or if potentially something else walked through here. Maybe a lion. I didn't see any tracks, but that could have been hidden by the elephants. Let me just turn around and face the other way so she's got space and I've got space. Trunk up, ears out, tail stiff. She's not showing any signs of aggression towards me, but she just doesn't look comfortable. The rest of the elephants are absolutely fine, but it's her job to protect them. She's the matriarch. She's clearly the matriarch. She's the biggest female, the oldest female. Oh, let's not get dumped in the ditch here. It could be to do with other elephants. She could be listening to something being said outside of our range of hearing that's upset her. I know, I saw it too. I think she was just defecating. There was a brief moment where she looked like she was straining a little bit. No. Fergus, the chances of us having a live elephant birth, as much as we wanted, are very slim. Did you think, was that what you were thinking? Or were you thinking? No, I also wasn't sure for a second. But no, she's also that's quite a young female. Sorry, Rick, I didn't even hear your question. Kirst, what was that? I got distracted. Silence. Oh, there we go. Rick wants to know how long it starts for a baby Ellie to start walking. Around about an hour or so. It'll start trying to stand straight away, but it often falls down. It could be as quick as 20 minutes. Some individuals do get up very, very quickly. But to actually really start to walk properly, I would say would take around about an hour. And the whole time it will be nudged and prodded and encouraged by the new mother. And one of the first things that it will do, it will defecate. What's it called again? Meconium. That baby's first poo, not to put it too delicately a turn on it. And then it will go and suckle and just get its energy levels up a little bit. I've never seen an elephant birth. It's a dream that I have. I've seen elephants mating, but I have never ever seen an elephant giving birth. Come close. Very close before. Once on foot and a couple of times in the vehicle. Speaking of vehicles, our elephants are vanishing off, and there is somebody who's advancing at quite a rapid rate down the road towards me. Very rapid rate. Goodness, Ferg, are we going to be involved in a fender bender on Buffelshoek Cutline? You know, can I tell you a secret? Don't tell him I told you. In that lion sighting yesterday, James nearly drove over me. I'm not quite sure what was going on. He was trying to change gears. I'd walked behind him and showed him where to go for the lion, and then I'd walked behind him. And he went, Fergus, you were on the back with him.
I was, yeah.
You were. He suddenly went backwards very rapidly. Yes, Fergus leapt out of the vehicle, did a swan dive, and swept me off the road into safety. Actually, I just hopped back a little bit. But James really did nearly drive over me. It happens out here. I once bonked my best friend with a vehicle. That sounded terrible. I mean, I drove backwards into her. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to Buffelshoek Dam. Let's go see what we can find. These ellies have all but disappeared. Whoa. There we go. I'm still wondering about those vultures. There's an area that we can't really spend too much time in because there's very little signal there, and Wendy was playing up big time that side. But I'm hoping some of the other guides might go and investigate that corner of Djuma. There were lots of hyena activity as well. It might just have been a small kill. And if a leopard-faced vulture was in the area, it might just have come to investigate the presence of the other vultures. Nancy says that James nearly ran over Brent once, but that was Brent's fault. That was Brent's fault. That was entirely Brent's fault. It was very funny, though. It was very, very funny. Yeah, that would be deserving. I was just standing there minding my own business. All of a sudden the vehicle was racing back down the hill towards me. John, I don't think... Do you think James realised? I don't think he did. I don't think at any point in that moment he realised. He was focused on finding the lion. It's alright, everybody. I escaped unscathed, lived to tell the tale, and the details, I'm sure, will get more and more exaggerated as time goes on. Right, now we need to find a Mvula. Buffelshoek Cutline, Tamboti Dam. He loves this spot. And I haven't seen a Mvula in months. Mvula, by the way, because that would be very confusing for our new viewers, is a dominant male leopard to the north of Tingana's territory. So you met Tingana this morning. Mvula is his counterpart to the north. He used to be dominant around Djuma, so obviously he was seen far more regularly on the live safaris before I arrived. But by the time I got here, he'd sort of been pushed up further north. So I've actually hardly seen him. Probably seen him maybe 20 times, if that. He does like this spot though. No tracks. Nope. George, good morning again. George, no, there are no wolves in Kruger. We do have a couple of very close relatives to wolves. We get the African wild dog, and there's a huge push to change the name wild dog to painted wolf or painted dog. There's debate about which one it should be. Basically because they're an incredibly endangered species. They're beautiful animals. They're fascinating animals. But the name wild dog, for some reason, people tend to just think of them as feral dogs. People who aren't in the know as to just how special they are. They are quite a recent evolution, but they're in the Canidae family. They're related to wolves distantly, and then actually far more closely related. We had this discussion the other day. Are our black-backed and our side-striped jackals that wander around and that we see every now and again. They're much smaller though than a wolf. They're tiny little dogs. I know that James must have been very excited to see a leopard this morning, and I'm sure he's still dedicated to trying to find him. Let's find out from him.
Well, I'm dedicated to finding something. Well, I've given up on Tingana, I'm afraid. We might be lucky later on. Texton has scoured the area, I have scoured the area, Lex has scoured the area. We've been here for an hour. This leopard has given us the slip, and we're now going to graciously concede defeat and head down and see what else we can find. What that will be, I don't know. We will see. So I think what we'll probably do then is head off to the western side of the reserve, where there were tracks of Shadow and Cub coming into Vulture or Djuma, so that would be quite nice, but who knows, one doesn't want to make promises, not on a glorious morning like this. Yes, good morning, how are you? Hungry for ants, I suspect. Yes. And in the background, the lovely call of the southern boo-boo. Adrian, I missed your question, I'm afraid. Kirsten, could you speak in English? Oh, good question, Adrian. You say, why do most animals have shorter lifespans than human beings? It's a very good question, Adrian. And while we discuss it, we'll be travelling to the south. Adrian, humans have long lifespans for a number of reasons. Basically, I think you'll find that, I'm not sure what the lifespan of a chimpanzee or a gorilla is, but I suspect it's in excess of 20 years, and probably up to about 30 years. The closer you come to humans on from a genetic point of view, the longer the lifespan will be. So the primates you'll find per mass have probably got a much longer lifespan than, say, the dogs. For example, most dog species, like the wild dogs, for example, most wild dogs in the Kruger are under 5 years of age. Something much lighter than them, like a big vervet monkey, for example, is much less mass. Smaller than that will live to a much older age, probably up to 20 years in some cases. So you can see that the primates just do live longer, but why do they live longer is the very crucial question. And I think humans are an exception. As we've discussed many times, we have that period of menopause, and menopause is key to this because as human beings we live beyond breeding age, and as you rightly point out, there are very few animals that do that, or there are very few animals that live as long as we do, and there are a couple of whale species that live as long as we do. Elephants come close, but for their mass they don't live a very long time at all, compared with something like a crocodile, for example, which could live over 100 years. And so the question is, what evolutionary advantage does it confer on us to live for a long time? Well, the major one, to live beyond breeding age, of course, is to pass on knowledge to future generations. And we are a species that learns extensively from each other, and especially from older generations. We learn about where food is, how to keep food, how to raise children, how to build homes. We absorb the collective wisdom of ages through the older people in our species. But what we must also remember, of course, is that our lifespan now, which extends to, well, let's say on average now, if you've got access to medical care, you can expect to live 80 years quite comfortably these days, barring some dread disease. That was not always the case, of course. Normally a human lifespan would end around about 45 to 50 years. That would have been a really old human being. And breeding would have begun around about 14 or 13 years for a woman, around probably 17 or 18 for a man, and it would have ceased then again for a woman probably in the mid-30s. Mid-30s would have been old to have a baby if you were a sort of Stone Age hunter-gatherer. And for men, well, I guess men are lucky in that they can carry on until the day they die, just about. But there would have been a period beyond which they didn't breed, and without medical care you would have found that very few people would have lived beyond 50. And that sort of puts us in the right scale, if you like. It didn't make us outlandishly long-lived, but it did make us more long-lived than any of the other primates, but not so much more than you would expect. You would expect us to live longer because we have a larger brain, we are of bigger mass than many of the primate species, and of course we do have the evolutionary need to transfer knowledge to each other. So it's probably through language that our lifespan has expanded so much in excess of other animals that weigh the same. Does that answer your question? I think that's a really nice question. There's a duiker. Oh, hang on a second. The duiker's gone, and Tristan is back online, and he has got leopard tracks, and I suspect they're the tracks to which I wish to head.
Well, we are back online. We had a minor accident coming out of the tree. Our microphone cable snapped, and so we had to do some running repairs quickly. But all good in the end. So what we've got here is tracks for Shadow's cub. Now, there are little tracks, and you might not be able to see that because you have no reference of size. But I'll put my finger there. There we go. So you can see they're tiny little tracks, these, really not very big at all. Now this is the front foot for this little female. You can see because of the width of this track, you've got a very wide part from toe to toe, but you see here, quite short from sort of back of the track to the front. If it was a male, you'd find that this distance and this distance would be the exact same and cause a round circle. So we know that it's female already, and this is a fairly clear track. You can see it's got quite deep edgings, and these are from early hours of this morning, so we're definitely going to try and follow these. There is tracks for Shadow as well, but they're not easy to see. She walked somewhere else. Luckily for us, this track is in a wildebeest area where the wildebeest is rolled around, and so it comes out quite clearly. Now the back foot over here is very clear, and it's quite nice because we don't often get to see back foot tracks as clear as this because they tend to be on top of the front foot ones and they get a bit obscured. But if you have a look here, you see, look how much more narrow this track is. So if I take, I'm going to try and find a blade of grass that will be good enough to do this with. Just give me 2 seconds. There we go. So if we take this blade of grass and we put it next to this track, it should be about there. Alright, so that's going to be its length. I'm going to put that there, and then if we just do its width at the back of the pad, okay, there we go. So that's the back pad, and then the length. You can see it is very much longer than it is wide, as opposed to that front track that almost looks like a circle. You can see this is a lot more elongated, and we know these are very fresh because when we arrived here, this piece of grass was actually compressed into it, and there's no visible sign of the grass moving. Now if I take it away, what I'm talking about is, you see these lines here that you have over there and there and there. During the day, if you had a bit of wind that was blowing like we had late yesterday evening, and already it's starting to come up now, what would have happened is that grass would have moved like this, and you would have gotten a much bigger line. So it means that these tracks are fairly fresh from this morning, the early hours of this morning. As well as that, we can see all the sand has been compressed inside here. There's no loose sand hanging about other than the ones that I've made. So very fresh tracks indeed, and you can see how small they are. It's so cool to see tracks this size. So we're definitely going to try and follow these. I did hear some vultures squabbling just now, so I wonder if maybe they don't have a kill somewhere close by, and we're definitely going to try and see how far we can get with these tracks. Mom crossed a little bit behind me here, behind this tree, and she's gone carrying on into the bush, and cub is just running around a little bit away from her, but that doesn't mean anything. It means that they probably are heading somewhere. Whenever she has the cub with her and she moves like this, it's generally to try and take it towards food. So I'm going to try and see if I can't follow these and see where they end up. But very, very exciting indeed, and hopefully we'll be able to find Shadow and the cub. The problem with where we are is that this area is very, very big. There's a big thicket on my other side here, which is where I think she might have looped around, and it's going to be tough to find her in there, but we are going to try our absolute best and see what we can get. Now, there's Andrew also here that is trying to help us. Hello, Andrew. So it's always good just to say hello to everybody in the mornings, because obviously we're helping us with finding Shadow and Cub. It's always good to have a vehicle, because a vehicle can check much further than you can, much quicker. Right, onto our tracks we go. Let's see how we go with these, and hopefully we'll be able to find where she was, and maybe, just maybe, they have a carcass somewhere. And while we do that, I believe Jamie is bumbling along and is also looking for any signs of anything, really.
That's exactly what I'm doing, Tristan. I am looking for any signs of anything. And so far I haven't found any signs of everything. So I think I'm going to make my way towards Chitwa Dam. I'm just listening to the Game Drive radio. They're still frantically looking for Tingana. It would be very funny if we just happened upon him as we drive along. I wonder where Tundi went from yesterday. Speaking of leopards, I wonder if anybody, I must actually go and find out. When I get to Chitwa, I'll be close enough to chat to the other guides, and I'll find out whether or not they had any tracks of her crossing back to the south, or if she's still hanging out on Djuma. Yesterday when James went to go and look for Tamba and Tundi, there was no sign of them crossing back to the south. And when I left her, I say left her like it was intentional, when I lost her in the worst patch of vegetation I think I've ever driven in, she was very intently hunting. I wonder, oh goodness, elephants have been busy. I would jump out and move it, but then I might fall over again, and that would be terribly embarrassing, so I'm not going to do that. So while I drive around the problem, I'm going to send you over to James with a very, very lovely antelope.
So lovely antelope, everybody. There you can see them, the nyalas. Glowing red in the early morning sun. And unfortunately, apparently not being stalked by a male leopard, or indeed a female leopard and her cub. We're round about the area where Tundi and Tamba were yesterday. Wondering if perhaps they are not draped over a tree. Everything just feels rather calm and collected at the moment. What happened there, Seb? You all right?
Sort of hole in my head.
You were attacked by a bug. Oh dear. I can still hear the ground hornbills going. They've been going since this morning. Let me just roll slowly back. There are the rest of the nyalas. They win, Seb. That.
Okay, thank you.
There they are. And of course, as far as I'm concerned, by far the most beautiful antelope that we get here. Roshni, what a nice question from you about why we use the term game. Why is it a game reserve and why is it a game drive? As far as I'm aware, the word game is actually a hunting term and referred to animals, wild animals that could be hunted. They were fair game, you see. And the term is just stuck, even though there's no hunting here. Game reserve was a reserve where animals, wild animals, could be kept, and I think ostensibly for hunting. But that is not the case anymore. And so when we talk about a game drive, it just means to, instead of going to shoot animals with a rifle, would be going to shoot them with a camera. And yeah, they're just called game drives. But the term game, I think, is a hunting term, which referred to animals that could be hunted, obviously. Certainly, we don't refer to them as, well, we don't refer to them from that perspective anymore. We tend to talk of game now just as any wild animal. In fact, when I was at university, Roshni, we used to refer to driving through one of the suburbs of the area as going on a game drive. That was because we were being very nasty. Keith, excuse me. You want to know how to tell the difference between a nyala and a kudu? Keith, I promise you now that if you saw them together, you would not mistake them at all. They do look superficially similar. They are part of the same genus, which means they do have resemblances. They have the similar sort of markings. The stripes are quite similar. But you would never confuse them. And you wouldn't confuse them simply because the kudu is much larger than the nyala. It's a different color. It is not that rich red color. It's a much sort of grayer color than the nyala. And the males, of course, of the nyala are a totally different color. They're charcoal with a white mantle that goes all the way along the back of the spine. And the kudu, much bigger, almost more than twice the size. And those huge spiraling horns. So I promise you, although they do look, when you see them, I know exactly what you mean. I'm describing two animals that you wouldn't think you could possibly confuse, but you can, unless you see them together, in which case you would never confuse them. And certainly if you spent as much time as we have around them, you wouldn't have a chance of confusing them. Seb, I'm going to really challenge you now. On this fallen tree in front of us, there are some blue waxbills. Sure. And we very seldom... And it looks like there might be a firefinch. No, I think they're all blue waxbills. Now, normally these things disappear. Oh, look at that. I think there's a little one still being fed. That's very sweet. Still got a short tail. See, that's it begging. You can hear it going beep, beep. Can't find your own food. You're big enough now, surely. Begging and begging and begging. Nearly pecking its mother's eye out. Or father. Could be either. In fact, I think that's probably a father. It looks the right kind of blue color. Isn't that fantastic? What a wonderful sighting of blue wugsbills. That is not common. You don't often see them like that at all.
There's only the two of them, eh? Yeah.
There was another one, but it's flown off now. Come on, Ma. I just want a few more seeds. Please, before I go to school. How do you think you learn as a blue waxbill at school? About eating seeds, perhaps. Which predators to avoid. Don't talk to strangers. Like those dreadful people from the firefinch family. How to build a house, how to build a nest. Which wasp species are good to build your nest around. How to avoid cuckoos, of course. How to avoid being parasitized by a cuckoo.